Good morning, children. Today I am going to start Civics, Chapter 2, the institutional representation of the democracy. So, what is democracy? A democracy is a form of government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It means where the people elect their representatives, and these elected representatives govern the country. Okay, so what things make the democracy success? So the democracy is a most popular form of the government in the world. But how do the democracy function? What things are required to make democracy success? What forms, what is the process associated with the democracy? So there are some institutional representation of democracy that are universal adult franchise, elections, political parties, and coalition government. These things are included in the institutional representation of the democracy. So what are the institutional representation of the democracy? The institutional representation of democracy are universal adult franchise, elections, political parties, and the coalition government. So the first institutional representation is universal adult franchise. So what is the meaning of universal adult franchise? Franchise means right to vote granted to the citizen of the country by the government and the constitution. What is the meaning of franchise? Franchise means right to vote granted to the citizen of a country. All the peoples, they granted right to vote by the government and the constitution. And these, what right they granted? Means they granted right to vote and elect one's representative. Okay, means the citizen have right to vote and they elect their own representative. Most modern democracies now practice universal adult franchise. What is the meaning of universal adult franchise? It means all the adults have right to vote. All the adults whose age of 18 and more, they have right to vote, and without any discrimination of race, sex, religion, economic or social status. So all the people have right to vote irrespective of their race, sex, religion, economic or social status. Means there is no discrimination. All the adult whose age of 18 and more, they have right to vote. This is called that universal adult franchise. And right to vote is not always a universal right. Okay, right to vote was not always a universal right. In the early democracy, only some people, in early democratic countries, only some peoples were allowed to vote. For example, in United Kingdom, only male landowners who were Protestant by faith, they could vote. Okay, so all the peoples were not having right to vote. For example, there is given in United Kingdom, there only male landowners who were Protestant by faith, so they had right to vote. But 19th century, the things gradually improved, and with the people in several democracies democratic countries, they fight for the universal male franchise or right to vote for all the males. Okay, so by 19th and 20th century, some states and countries started allowing women to vote. Okay, in India also, women also having right to vote. In several countries, however, people continue to be denied the right to vote of the basis of color and race. Okay, as I explained, right to vote was not always a universal right. One example I given about the United Kingdom. Now the next example is South Africa. In South Africa, the people have right to vote on the basis of the color and race. So, as 1994, non-whites were not allowed. Okay, only the white people, Britishers, were allowed to vote. Non-whites people were not allowed to vote in the national election. Even in United States of America also, non-whites people did not have right to vote. And they struggle a lot. And the Indian Constitution make that no discrimination was made on the basis of sex, economic status, religion and caste while granting the right to vote to the people of India. No, but Indian Constitution, there is no discrimination on the basis of sex. Sex means male or female. Economic status, high standard lifestyle or low standard lifestyle. Religion, there is no religion or the caste while granting the right to vote of the people. So this is about the universal adult franchise. Okay, now our next topic is election. Election. What is election? Through election, the people can elect or choose their representative. So, what is election? Elections are the process by which the citizen of a democracy, they elect or choose their representatives. Okay, and these elected representative form different parts of the country, meet in a body and called a assembly, and all these elected representative, they form elected representative from the different parts and from the different parties. They meet and form a assembly. No, assembly or parliament. Okay. For a democracy to be successful, election have to be conducted in a lawful way. How the elections are conducted? In democracy can run the principle of one vote, one person. Means each person has only one vote, and all the votes have the same values. Okay, means one person give only one vote and having the same value. And the citizen who has attained at the age of 18 is eligible to vote. Okay, but some person are unsound mind or one convicted for a crime, they are not eligible for vote. Okay, so democracy run the principle of one vote, one person. Means one vote, only one person can give one vote. One person cannot give his or her vote again and again. Only one time he or she can give the vote. Who is attained the age of 18, only that person is eligible for vote. And elections are held at a regular interval. Means elections are held at a regular intervals at the fixed period. In some countries it held every 5 years, while in some countries having 6 years. But in India, the elections are held after every 5 years. And this is called the general election. Okay, so in India, elections are held once in a 5 year, and this is called general election. What is general election? Elections are held once in a 5 year. This is called general election. Okay, but sometime when the member of parliament, when a member of parliament or a state legislature dies in a office or resign, so the elections are held in his or her constituency before the completion of 5 years. This is called a by-election. Okay, so what is by-election? When the member of parliament or state legislature, when a member of parliament or state legislature dies in office, या तो उसकी मृत्यु हो जाती है या वो रिज़ाइन कर देता है. Elections are held in his or her constituency before the completion of 5 years. 5 साल पूरे होने के पहले जो इलेक्शन होता है उसे हम बाय इलेक्शन कहते हैं. On the other hand, if for certain reason, but there is another condition, if for the certain reason the president on the advice of prime minister dissolves the Lok Sabha or the state assembly, this election will be conducted ahead for 5 years. That is called mid-term election. Okay, so what is mid-term election? For the certain reason, the president on the advice of prime minister dissolve means bhang kar dena, dissolve the Lok Sabha or the state assembly. So elections are conducted ahead for a 5 years, means अगले 5 साल के लिए जो इलेक्शंस होते हैं वो कहलाता है मिड टर्म इलेक्शन. And all the parties and the candidates who are contesting the election have right to campaign freely. अब इलेक्शन में जो भी पार्टीज और जो भी कैंडिडेट्स होते हैं, then they have right to campaign freely, means they can present their proposal to the voters, either personally or through the mass media. Okay, after the when the parties and the candidates who are contesting the election, means who are contesting the election, they have right to campaign freely. Campaign freely means they can present their proposal to the voters. How they can present their proposal means what are their agendas, what are their plan to make the India successful. So all these things they can present their proposals through the vote to the voters, either personally or the mass media. Elected representatives at the national, at the local level are expected to listen to the people and respond to their need and suggestion. Okay, so at the local level also, or at the national level also, elected representatives, the person who are elected, they are expected to listen to the people and they respond to their needs and suggestion. Now, what are the requirements for the fair election? All the citizens should have only one vote and all votes should carry the same value. Okay, I explained about one vote to one person, means all the citizens should have only one vote. They can give only one time. They can give their vote only in one time. Okay, and it should have a same value. If the people have to vote because in the election many parties are there, so the people have choice to choose their elected representative. They have choice to elect. In India we have many political parties. There are different party system in the world: one party system, two party system, and multi party system. But India followed multi party system. Means India have so many political parties. From each political parties one candidate can contest the election, so the people have choice to choose the candidate. An election should be held regularly. Okay, general election held once in a 5 year. So every 5 year the election can conduct. Election should be conducted in a atmosphere free of fear or violence. Okay, so the people, people who are in the election committee, they make that atmosphere, then people can cast their vote without any fear or violence. And there should be no compulsion on the voters to vote for a particular candidate. Okay, so there is not compulsory, then the people can give to the particular vote, they can give their votes to the particular people. Okay, then next is election is not a small process, है ना. So here I explained about the different types of election, what are the requirements. Now the election commission. Election commission. What is election commission? For the election to be free and fair, they have to administrated by a neutral. Neutral means not partial, fair and professional body, and that treat all the political parties and the candidates. Okay, so to make the election free and fair, the election commission should be neutral. Neutral means not partial, fair, and the professional, that treats all the political parties and candidates equally. And this commission should be also empowered to resolve any disputes about the election result. And India, the election commission, and all these things are done by the election commission. All these things are done by election commission. And this election commission is independent and answerable only to the parliament. Okay, so this election commission work freely, independent and answerable to the parliament. And the head of election commission is chief election commissioner. Okay, chief election commissioner, and chief election commissioner is appointed by the president of India. But in some countries, independent observers, and in some countries, some observers, independent observers are invited from neutral countries to observe the voting and the counting. Especially the people can have confusion in voting and counting of the votes. So in some countries, independent observers are invited. Then they can observe the work of voting and the counting of the votes to ensure that all these process is free of corruption and intimidation and fraud. Now the next is electoral constituency. Electoral constituency means to make the election truly representative, because it is not a easy election. Conducting election is not a easy task. So our country is a very vast country. and our country is divided into states, and each state is usually divided into number of small units called constituency. Okay, so our whole country is divided into states, and each state is usually divided into a number of small unit. It is called constituency, and these constituency are drawn up that consist roughly of the same number of the people. And on which base these constituencies are formed? So the constituencies are formed on the basis of population. Okay, and they drawn this, all these constitutions should have a same number of the people, है ना, same number of the people. For example, here is given Mumbai has 6 parliamentary constituency. Mumbai has a 6 parliamentary constituency because in a few square kilometer in size and the number of people are more, while some constituencies are in the state of Rajasthan because there are hundreds of square kilometer people lived. So the constituency are formed on the basis of the number of people. Okay. For example, Mumbai is a smaller than the Rajasthan, but the population is more. So there is a number of constituencies are more than the Rajasthan. From each constituency, out of the several candidates who contest election. Okay, from each constituency, because India is a multi-party system, so each constituency out of several candidates can contest the election, but one person is elected and sent to the House of Representatives. Only one person can elected and sent to the government. And some seats are reserved. Some seats are reserved for the people. They come from the reserved for people from more disadvantaged background. Some seats are reserved for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. So the people should not have been discriminated against the general people. Many of them are continued to be discriminated against it. And some seats are reserved for the women also. Okay, so till here. In the next about the election campaign, I will explain tomorrow. Thank you.